All right, guys, our presentation is over reciprocal causation. It's a study by Albert Bandura, a really famous psychologist of our time. Presentation is by me, Colton Boyd.
And by me, Jaydon Johnston. And we're excited to present the research that we did over reciprocal causation.
All right, so going into our first slide, here's the man behind the madness, Albert Bandura. There's a picture of him on the left, kind of more of his recent picture. The one in the middle is him getting an award from President Obama, so obviously that shows he's obviously a pretty important man. He's done some great work in the field of psychology. And there's an earlier picture of him in his early college days whenever he was doing his first initial research into social cognitive theory.
All right, moving into the next slide, we're going to talk about his educational background. So Albert Bandura is surveyed as the fourth most frequently cited psychologist of all time, and is widely described as the greatest living psychologist today. So yeah, at the age of 93, still making a run for it in psychology. He received a bachelor's from the University of British Columbia in psychology in the year of 1949. Then he studied theoretical psychology at the University of Iowa, from where he obtained his MA in 1951 and PhD in 1952. During his Iowa years, Bandura came to support a style of psychology which sought to investigate psychological phenomena from repeatable and experimental testing. Bandura's expanded array of conceptual tools allowed for more potent modeling of such phenomena as observational learning and self-regulation, and provided psychologists with a practical way in which to theorize about mental processes, in opposition to the mentalistic constructs of psychoanalysis and personology. Upon graduation, he completed his postdoctoral internship at the Wichita Guidance Center. The following year, 1953, he accepted a teaching position at Stanford University, which he still holds to this day as an old guy. In 1974, he was elected president of the American Psychological Association, which is the world's largest association of psychologists. His initial research included investigating the role of social modeling in human motivation, thought, and action.
All right, so kind of going into the definition of reciprocal causation, we define this as when two or more events have a cause-effect relationship on each other simultaneously. This is a big part of Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory that he was working on with multiple other doctors out there. So kind of going into this little graph right here, the reciprocal causation is basically a cause and effect relationship between the person themselves, the environment that maybe affects them or their behavior, and obviously the behavior itself. As you can see from this triangle right here, they all have a special cause and effect relationship on each other from the person, environment, and behavior themselves. So obviously not one is more important or less important than the other. So kind of just going into some examples of this.
We picked out two examples that really illustrate the simultaneous triangle pretty well here. So the first example, a school student loves to play music. He or she will pay attention to the music lectures and create beautiful pieces of music. This will earn him or her praise from the teacher and adoration from fellow students, making him or her create even better pieces of music. Pointing out some of the factors here. So the student loves to play music. So that would be the personal factor of this example. And then when the student receives praise from the teacher and adoration from fellow students, that's the environment that he or she is in that affects that person, making him or her create even better pieces of music, which causes a behavior. So you can see how that all simultaneously flows together in correspondence with each other. Now in the second example, a child does not like a particular subject, so he or she will not study it. This will lead to getting bad grades on the exam, which will lead to the child being at the receiving end of his or her parents' and teacher reprimands. This will make the child not want to study that subject even more, and he or she may also begin disliking the teacher, creating further mishaps in the classroom. So referring back to the triangle, whenever the child does not like the particular subject and chooses not to study it, that's the personal factor and personal choice there. The environment in this example would be where the child is receiving the end of the parents' and teachers' reprimands, influencing the child, and then leading to the child not wanting to study and disliking the teacher causes the behavior or leads into the behavior. And so you can see how that all flows together and really shapes the student.
All right, so kind of going into the Bandura's social cognitive theory and kind of what that umbrellas as it pertains to reciprocal causation. Just a quick definition: comprehensive overview of human cognition in the context of social learning. That is the definition of social cognitive theory. This includes a wide range of studied social processes under Bandura himself. So here's the four: human agency, self-efficacy, motivation, and affective processes. So kind of going into the first one, human agency. Concept of agency can be referred to as the process of behaving with intentionality. Humans express agency when they intentionally influence their own functioning environments, life circumstances, and destiny. People make casual contribution to their own motivation and action within a system of triadic reciprocal causation, kind of like we were talking about before. Going to number two, self-efficacy. Among the mechanisms of personal agency, none is more central or pervasive than people's beliefs about their capabilities to exercise control over events that affect their lives. Self-efficacy, the beliefs function as an important set of proximal determinants of human motivation, affect, and action. The beliefs also affect thought patterns that may be self-aiding or self-hindering in that sense. So people's perceptions of their efficacy influence the types of anticipatory scenarios they construct and reiterate. So those who have a high sense of efficacy visualize success scenarios that provide positive guides for performance. Those who judge themselves as inefficacious are more inclined to visualize failure scenarios that undermine performance by dwelling on things that may go wrong. All right, kind of going into the third bullet point, motivation. People's self-efficacy beliefs determine their level of motivation overall, as reflected in how much effort they will exert in an endeavor and how long they will persevere in the face of obstacles. The stronger the belief in their capabilities, the greater and more persistent are their efforts. When faced with difficulties, people who are beset by self-doubts about their capabilities slacken their efforts or about their attempts prematurely and quickly settle for mediocre solutions, whereas those who have a strong belief in their capabilities exert greater effort to master the challenge. And so then go into affective processes. People's beliefs in their capabilities affect how much stress and depression they experience in threatening or taxing situations, as well as their motivation. So obviously you can see all four of these kind of intertwine in a way that makes the definition for the social cognitive theory and reciprocal causation in itself. Such emotional reactions can affect action both directly and indirectly by altering the nature and course of thinking. So obviously if you have a positive way of thinking, it's going to cause you a positive course of action. Negative thinking will put you more towards a negative course of action for your life, according to the research. Courses of thinking can be positive or most of the time negative because we are human at the end of the day.
And how this applies to our goal as teachers, we must be more curious than ever. We must apply the social cognitive theory in order to accurately see possible problems in our students. So we have the ability to choose how we observe our students. So the way that we assess and the way that we react to students' progress is what we're in control of. And we must understand the negative and positive effects our future classroom environment will have on our students. So this is just basically to convict us as teachers to know that we can do a better job in how the students retain the environment that we bring and how that affects their behavior and them as a person. So knowing that, we can do a better job through this research to better our future for our students overall, helping them excel in the classroom and in school.
So here's our citation page, and as you can see, obviously the last two bullets in our citations is Bandura himself. He has been such an important piece in social cognitive theory in itself and reciprocal causation specifically.
Right, and I guess we can just close out. And my name is Jaydon Johnston.
And my name is Colton Boyd.
And that was our presentation for Reciprocal Causation by Albert Bandura. And we thank you. Peace out.